thank you very much. Where to start? Let me introduce myself. My name is Herke, as you obviously see. I was just not tempted to do a Steve Ballmer after Microsoft with this kind of music, but no, let's not do that. I think that's enough. My background is in data centers. I used to own a data center company, which I sold to Equinix in 2008. After that, I worked for a company called LeaseWeb. You all know it. And from that previous experience, I thought it would be good to start something again for myself. And so I did, and that's the bare metal portfolio that NovoServe is doing. So what I want to have my presentation about is, of course, I'm going to blatantly pitch this as a commercial offering for everybody. No. What we are doing is something special with our bare metal portfolio, and I'll dive into that. A lot of text, so yeah, I did not follow the courses on how to do presentations correctly, but it gives you a bit of an idea of what we want to do. Everybody heard about the SIDN stuff, public cloud. Microsoft, of course, has its merits, as does AWS, but it's not the holy grail for everything, and that's what we want to talk about today. Excuse me, I have a very bad cold, so my voice isn't that good today. Yeah, founded in 2014. We provide bare metal and bare metal only as a service. Like, you know, every other hosting provider that started with web hosting, they went to dedicated servers in the past, and now they're doing VMs and cloud and everything. And as it's my firm belief that it's good to be very recognizable, and NovoServe is not doing VPSs. Actually, we do have a few domains that we're still hosting, but we're trying to get rid of it. The only thing we want to do is the combination of hardware up and running in a tier 3 data center, very well connected, as you will see, and that's it. We don't do software ourselves. We provide the installation environment for it, but the customer has all the freedom to do the software layer on top of the hardware. Obviously, located in the Netherlands, that's where our main locations are, but we also have a small operation running in the US. We have more than 7,000 machines up and running, mainly in the Netherlands right now. We have the network capacity is actually double the 8 terabit that we have. Actually, we are, I think, next to, I think they're called Odido now. Next to Odido, we're the largest customers on the AMS-IX with 1.6 terabits of interconnect. Nobody knows us, so that's why I wanted to tell a little bit about it. And obviously 800 peering partners and a lot of B2B clients. Our portfolio is very well suited for larger customers that want to buy hardware running and the services underneath the hardware in volume. So this is basically our network location in the Netherlands. We have 3 data centers up and running, 2 in Amsterdam, 1 in Delft. Also connected to 3 main POPs with a lot of interconnectivity. As I said, it's about 1.6 terabits of uplink capacity, where we peak around half on. And we have a lot of direct peerings also, obviously. One of the main things that we have, which is very interesting, is we have all 3 main Chinese carriers in our network, which I think is unique in Europe. So again, too much text, but hey, then you guys don't have to look at me all the time. So obviously, hardware, our main bread and butter. It's very well connected. Software highly automated. What we try to do is automate the delivery of the hardware and the installation of operating systems. We fire up an operating system like an image, just like a VPS, So actually what we are doing, we're making bare metal as easy as VPSs. And that's what we're good at right now. So the traditional use cases have been obviously hosting, as many of our competitors also are doing. We have, you know, in the Dutch world, we have obviously LeaseWeb, WorldStream, all those kinds of providers. Internationally, we're also, you know, looking at Hetzner, and OVH, but they have a different strategy. What I want to talk about now is that, you know, obviously not only for the hosting business is interesting, but also as for other parties that want to build private clouds, MSPs, and that's where we're specifically targeting our portfolio to. So, again, Microsoft, sorry, but the public cloud dream is not only a dream, it was obviously also very well pitched by media that it is the bee's knees and everything, but it's obviously not perfect. It's someone else's computer, as always. You know, it's running somewhere. It's not perfect, but it was pitched like that. But as we will see, it is not cheaper. Billing is very interesting, to say the least. An entire ecosystem has started to grow in order to manage the billing for the enterprise customers, because it's very transparent in what's happening. You get you know, so many terabytes of storage, and they forget to tell you that you have to upload and download the stuff also. And when you pay, and when you see what you pay in the end, it's very expensive compared to just buying storage from another provider. It's not always better. No, the uptime of public cloud is very good, but you also need additional services like backup and everything in order to make it work. And you know, outages, when AWS has an outage, we will see many services in internet having a problem. It's not that bare metal is better. Obviously, you have to also make redundant sites in bare metal, but it is way cheaper than going with public cloud only. Yeah. What we are experiencing right now is also a trend where it's not the best. We see a trend going on that public cloud is not the best for all solutions, especially when you have a great base load of infrastructure that needs to be always on. Public cloud is more expensive than putting it on own hardware. So we see a trend going on where part of the base load is put back to dedicated infrastructure, bare metal, and cloud is used for scaling where it's originally thought for. So there's a little bit of sense coming back into the market where everything has its merits and everything has its pros. And I think a mixed ecosystem of infrastructure is the way to go due to flexibility and cost. So a little bit of what we've seen in cost difference from past experience. One of our customers, when they put everything in AWS, their cost was almost 5 times as much as when they transferred it to our bare metal. To give you an idea, they reduced the total cost from about 6 million a year to 1.5, and they were able to have an entire own team do the software. Public cloud is very interesting to start up your infrastructure because it's very low entry. You don't have to be able to set up the systems entirely. It's all run for you, but it comes at a cost. And also, they tend, and that's what I think is very interesting. That it's like They tend to make you a small cloud drug abuser by giving you 100K or 10K of free credits, and once you're in it, you're never going to leave. So we provide our bare metal based on enterprise hardware, very well connected. Our main servers right now, high-end servers, run on dual 25 gigs, and it's HP G10 infrastructure. So this is the exact example I was talking about. This is a price comparison of a customer of ours that went to back from the cloud into our infrastructure. They paid around 7 million a year when they were in AWS, and once they transferred the infrastructure into ours, it was 1.3 in total cost. So a very huge difference, and they were able to hire an entire team and do like 4 extra locations in the in the world for the same amount of cost. This is something that's very relatively new. We started working, obviously, with one of the AI providers in America. That's a new startup. I am not able to tell you guys what AI will bring for us. I don't think anyone in the world is really ready for what kind of changes we're looking at. But what is interesting is, obviously, it will, as we see at in the beginning of the World Wide Web, we see something coming up again that is going to boom and then probably burst like it did in 2000 and then start again. We are now, I think, in an AI bubble where it will probably burst and then the applications will come and people will start making money instead of just generating funny images. But what we are doing, obviously, bare metal is also very interesting to do GPU infrastructure on. But for our customers, we just wanted to add an extra layer of software where people can start working on it. So that's why we have a cooperation with Apollo. It's a US startup that has a virtualized infrastructure which is able to run all kinds of AI applications. This will make it easier for our customers to try and work with it. For a lot of from a lot of ISPs and MSPs we're talking to, we get the question, what is AI going to do for us? And I'm just telling them blatantly, I don't know. It will be helpful. It will be something that we will be able to use. But we need to learn how to work with it. Everybody knows ChatGPT. We've worked with it. It can generate texts, not very brilliantly, but hey, it's a big help already. But processing your own company data, like measurements, trends, and all that kind of stuff, I am convinced that AI will help us find solutions to problems that we didn't know really existed. I don't know if that's a good thing, though, but it will be able. We will be able to process mass amounts of data, and this team is going to help us with it. We have a very broad suite of GPUs available in our infrastructure as bare metal, but we also on this platform help customers land on AI land, so to speak. Actually, we are just kicking off a project for ourselves in order to learn how to work with it. It does data mining on power usage of our systems, trending. Obviously, it's very easy to do it by hand also, but we will probably see some stuff coming out of it, and it will help us save costs on data engineers. This is more for reference. We have a very broad portfolio in hardware. We can build anything you need. What is interesting is that unlike many other hosters, we have one common infrastructure that is very flexible, and we can build all kinds of applications without moving a server. So it's literally possible within our data center to build clusters of servers that are randomly put in several racks, and we connect it all into our data center spine. And it's just like building a custom rack with your own hardware. You get the access to the systems. We have the installation services, so you can bring your own images and put them onto the servers and start using your infrastructure as it was your own. So I think that's pretty new compared to what is in the market, where the bare metal hosting is just thought for only bare metal. But our infrastructure is built to build dedicated infrastructure next to the hosting portfolio and next to anything that is possible. So we virtualized the whole concept of putting servers into a cluster within a data center, and we can obviously also do that for several data centers. Right now, our 4 locations. In the Netherlands, we have 3. In the US, we have 1. And you know what they say, it's true. In the US, go big or go broke. We went into little, so it's slowly growing. But we need to step up on growing more in the US. So it's a very interesting journey up until now, and we're very happy to continue. Any questions?
Yes, one at the back. First of all, can we have a round of applause, please, for that PR pitch? Yes.
Thank you. So you've mentioned a couple of things about your core audience, and I was wondering if there is, on the regulatory level, any niche or any industry that actually requires bare metal solutions.
Yep.
And if you target them.
Yeah, we do. Obviously, one of the greatest benefits of bare metal is privacy. And if you put it in a public cloud, the data is readily accessible. And in bare metal, it's hard to access. You have to have physical access to the server in order to get to the data. So yes, we target also financial institutions and obviously European cloud providers that see privacy as very, very important for their business. Does that answer your question?
I would also like to give Microsoft a bit of a right to reply.
Of course. I mean,
I
did not want to bash
they're
Microsoft.
They're drug dealers. You're making people addicts with your tantalizing membership plans and everything.
That was not Microsoft.
No.
Bad AWS.
But oh, right. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, from the, I think what all you can say is true and somehow false. It is up to customer demand, by the way. From the scalability perspective, from reachability perspective, think about if the customer is able to reach to the whole world or to some of the regions. Of course, hyperscalers has some of the advantages and disadvantages. Even within the hyperscalers, in some parts of the world, AWS is stronger than us. In some part of the world, Google, blah, blah. So just up to the customer requirements, it can change. But from the customization perspective, we also encourage. That's why we have peerings with you. That's why we are exchanging information with you. That's why we are enabling. And it's not only public clouds. There are lots of sovereign clouds also within some of the countries. So it is up to customer demand. It is up to customer requirements. That's why it's kind of a big ecosystem, and we are completing each other.
I fully agree. I think I would not advise customers or MSP customers to build their own Microsoft cloud for Office and all that kind of infrastructure. But for scaling large databases, doing AI work, a bare metal solution tailored with your own software is more efficient than putting it into a cloud. And it is interesting to put it in the cloud, especially for the peaks. But for your base load, it's good to look at how do I do it in an efficient way. Obviously, and I use that word a lot, I mean, it's interesting to build an own team and save money on doing it, but it is also a big hurdle because you have to find people to do it. You know, it's a very difficult task in Western Europe right now, finding the right techs.
Yeah. But with a public cloud, the scalability is kind of almost infinite, isn't it? And that's the difference with private clouds, where you're kind of limited to your hardware, isn't it?
Yes, and why we are targeting MSPs is because these guys normally bought their own hardware, put it in the data center, and the hard part of the entire project is not the software. Once they have the infrastructure up and running, it's very easy to add nodes and scale up. But to buy the hardware for an expansion, let's say, that's where the third-party MSPs that want to compete a little bit with the public cloud, they used to buy their own hardware, or they still do. And let's say you win a good deal, but the customer wants 500 or 1,000 VMs up and running next week. A regular SME MSP does not have like 10, 20 machines on the fly ready to run. And that's what we as bare metal providers do have. So it's very easy to scale up your infrastructure. It's also easy to scale down and get rid of systems that you don't use anymore. And compared to doing your own investments in hardware with 3 or 5 year write-off. So that's why we are pitching our infrastructure towards the MSPs right now.
Okay, and a good pitch it was. Very good.
We tried.
Any more? Oh no, there is one more question out there.
Thank you very much.
There's one more question, Herke.
Yes.
Yeah, just over here.
So one thing I missed in your presentation is obviously that cloud does definitely add more value than what you're just considering to compute. So for instance, with Google, you have Firebase or Google Auth services, or with AWS, you have S3. What value add do you add on top of your bare metal that you're not necessarily considering in your price comparison?
The hardware maintenance, obviously, but you get that with cloud too. The installation services, we have an infrastructure that makes it easy to just spin up a physical node. And what we do is we have low bandwidth prices and high bandwidth in interconnects. So you have a fixed price for a machine with bandwidth, and ingress, egress within that limits are obviously free. So other than that, it's a pretty barren product, but you see that back in the price. But the scalability, as I just mentioned, is one of the pros. We have more than 500 machines available in our infrastructure just to spin up.
Okay, we're going to leave it there? Yeah, one more. Okay, this will be our last one.
Thank you. I have a question. Every hardware has an end of life, and I was wondering how you handle hardware upgrades for customers.
Every hardware has end of life, obviously. We start with high-end stuff which we buy, and it's easy for our customers to, if they need a new generation of hardware, they can change it within a month to a newer hardware generation, depending on the contract they have with us. But most of the contracts are month over month. They are obviously also possible to have daily contracts or yearly or whatever. But normally it's month over month. So if they want to upgrade to a newer generation, they can get them from our stock. What happens with the generation they're using? Most of the times it gets, at a lower rate. You can keep selling the older infrastructure in a more price-sensitive market, so to speak. So what we see in the enterprise market used today, in 2-3 years will be mainstream, and 2-3 years after that will be the low-end market. What we have to do, especially when looking at that, is, okay, what's the power usage like? One of the most important things when hardware gets older is that diminishing revenue closes in on how much power it uses, and it's not worthwhile keeping it. So we have an entire life cycle management system built around our portfolio where we can predict, okay, within the year, this hardware will not be worth selling anymore. So we start selling the hardware, taking it out and start selling it to the used market. But we also buy a lot of hardware from the used hardware market. To give you an idea, you can buy 2 or 3 year old systems that are still the newest generation, still working like new. You can buy them new also, but the revenue, the purchase price of the hardware is maybe 20%, 30% of the purchase price of new hardware, but the revenue we get out of it is the same. So it would be foolish to buy everything new. It is necessary to buy new hardware also for the newest and the highest end generation. But from the mid-sized, medium-sized generation or the mainstream, we buy most of it already used. And we see actually, we had servers from Apple, from Microsoft, and being used into our infrastructure at the lower end. Yeah. So lifecycle management is something that's very important. We also monitor every server's power usage, and we can generate reporting on what did your server use in kilowatt hours, what's the profile for our customers. So also very important.
Okay, is that good? Any more questions at all? No, okay. Well, then we will leave it there. Herke
Thank you very
Plantenga,
much. I'll be around for questions.